if you care to join me, I'm gonna see if I can finish off this book while I'm still here. I'm just gonna relax, let time get away from me, and listen to the noisy traffic while I'm fending off mosquitoes. And let me know if there's a mosquito on my face. All right. So if you didn't know, mosquitoes are attracted to heat, just like fleas. So wherever there's like warm, especially moisture, so humidity, that's where they're gonna be attracted to. So you may notice, even if you like just take your shoes off, if you've been wearing your shoes for a while, they'll be attracted to your shoes because of the damp warmth. And just like with fleas, that's why one of the remedies to catch fleas is simply a bowl of warm water with soap in it. The soap is what will kill them, but the warmth of the water is what attracts them because they think it's a body. Mosquito just went right in my right ear. It sounded so like stereotypical. People have this misconception that bees, flies, mosquitoes buzz as like a, the same way birds sing and dogs bark, but it's really just their wings. It's really just their wings. A lot of us who aren't really confident in what we're saying have this habit of going up on our last word, and so it sounds like we're asking a question when we're making a statement. It's a bad habit, but it's possible to break out of it. You just have to have confidence in what you're saying. It says, in any novel, in any movie, or real-life drama, the highest point of the story is the moment of truth. It's interesting how often we say that. Like, when we're anticipating something, we start rubbing our hands together saying, all right, it's the moment of truth. Because the reality is, everybody has this lens, whether it's clear or has some sort of filter over it that causes a distortion. And most people have the idea that what they're seeing and the thoughts that come with what they're seeing is the truth of what is. But a lot of people, too many people, fail to realize or recognize the fact that it is just a distortion. And it's not to say, excuse me, it's not to say that a distortion is right or wrong. It's simply just a distortion. The way I see the difference between perspective and perception is that perspective can be looking at the same thing but from multiple different angles, whereas perception might be looking at the same angle but just seeing it in a totally different light. So you could have the same perspective as someone else, but if you have different perception, you're still not seeing the same way that they're seeing. You know, if we're both, well, you can't see things from 100% of the same perspective. For instance, if we're actually looking at an object, even if your face was next to mine, you're still not going to see exactly from my angle. Even both of our eyes don't even see from the exact same angle. Have you noticed, like, close one eye and then like shift, you can see that the perspective changes ever so slightly. And those are both of the eyes right on your face. So no one else is going to actually see from the exact angle that you see. However, you can come close enough to it where it's like generally around about the same perspective. However, if you see in color and someone else is colorblind, you know, you might have the same perspective, but you have a different perception. Like I said, you see things in a different light. That's just a physics example. But looking at the different types of ideas and concepts in the world, you could be looking at a situation, and wow, she's big. You could be looking at a situation, and you and another person might see from the same perspective that differs from someone else who sees a totally different perspective. Whereas you and the person who see from the same perspective, y'all see a different perception. We all have our beliefs, and a lot of people don't really separate what they believe from what they think they know, because at the end of the day, what you believe, you think you know. And so you don't separate saying, well, I know this, but I believe this. Because, of course, that which you believe, you want to have faith in the idea that this is the truth, so I know this, rather than just hope. But we all have that lens with those filters, and my question would be, is it possible to live without that lens? I don't know. I think it's possible to remove as many filters as possible, but that lens is simply experience. You can't really get rid of your point of view. It's like trying to say, speak English without an accent, or any language for that matter. It's like trying to speak a language without an accent. There's no such thing. I mean, you can have the original accent, but that's the equivalent of being the closest to having as little filters as possible. You're always going to have a bias based on your experience or your observation. You might not have experienced something, but your observation, whatever you think about something, either you've observed it before, or if this is your first time observing it, all you know about it is what you're seeing now, or what you're hearing now, what you're experiencing about that thing in the present moment, if that's your first time ever perceiving it. You're always going to have a bias, and then chances are you're going to attach your opinions to it, and you have to essentially analyze what you're doing and remind yourself not to, which is very difficult because, see, I don't know why, but it's very difficult because it's not something that you really choose to do. It's like how I say that people tend to say, believe what you want, but I don't even think that's the case. I don't think anybody really believes what they want. You just believe what you do. You believe what you believe. Most people's beliefs, if not all of them, weren't really self-inflicted. I did it again, see? Going up.
It's like I'm getting to a point where I'm like not standing firm in what I'm saying.
A lot of beliefs aren't actually self-inflicted. They're learned from elsewhere, whether it be from another person or from an experience. And if the majority of your experiences lead you to this conclusion, that's not really your decision to perceive that. You can combat it by telling yourself, okay, I'm going to have hope that this isn't how it's always going to be. But even that's risky because depending on what the situation is, a lot of people may be perceived as naive for that. When you have a repeated experience and choose not to let that ruin or affect your perception of said situation or thing or person, people would see that as being naive. Lies live in the minds of those that believe them, whereas the truth exists on its own. When you think about that, it's very, very true. An analogy that I came up with is, imagine there's a cave and there is a village of people who believe that there is a bear in the cave. Now, the cave, truthfully, is empty, but in the minds of all these people who believe there's a bear in there, there is a bear in there. It's as real as the emotions triggered. There is no bear in the cave. And that's the argument in this case. There is no bear in the cave. Whereas the infinite number of lies that could spread amongst this village is that there is a bear in the cave. There are 2 bears in the cave. There's a bear and a crocodile. It's infinite. What is the bear doing? How many? How big? What color? All these different factors that anyone could really come up with to fabricate the situation. Whereas at the end of the day, the actual fact of the matter is that there is no bear in the cave. the lie only exists in the minds of those that believe it. It's not the actual case, but the truth itself doesn't have to be believed. It doesn't have to be shared. It doesn't have to be, anything else. It just is. The only time it changes is if one day a bear walks into the cave. Truth and perspective. It's interesting. Very interesting. Honestly, it's not that interesting. It's just, in a world full of lies, it's something to think about. Which brings me to another thought. Our observation of art, what we perceive art to be, what we consider art, our reasons for making art, is the reason I'm writing the book I'm writing right now. I'm taking my time with it because I feel like even if people don't agree with my perception of it, I think a lot of artists out there would appreciate what I had to say about it. So I did it again. What I had to say about it. Yes. So yeah. Thank you for your patience and listening, because this went from just seeing if I could finish the book to talking about a very small snippet of what's in the book. So thanks for watching. I'm not gonna try to remind you of the things. Like, if you actually want to, you can. It's there. So I'll just say thank you. Have a beautiful day.